So the previous video covered how our brain works, and this video we will discuss different types of overload that happens during multimedia learning and how can we reduce cognitive load. In his works, Mayer described 5 types of cognitive overload in multimedia learning. First type is split attention. Imagine you are watching a really cool video about how plants grow, but there is also some subtitles at the bottom of the screen explaining what's happening. It's like trying to listen to 2 different songs at once. This is called split attention. The second type of overload is when both channels overloaded. This is when you are learning something new, like how animals move, and there is so much to see and hear that it feels like your brain is running out of space. It's like having too many toys to play with all at once, and you can't play with them all. This can make it really hard to understand everything. The third type is reading and signaling. Imagine you are trying to read a book, but someone is playing loud music in the background. The music distracts you and it's tough to focus on the story. So this is a bit like when you are learning something, but there are extra things that don't really help, like background noise or videos. They can make it harder to concentrate. The fourth type of overload, aligning and eliminating redundancy. Have you ever tried to build a puzzle, but some of the pieces don't fit together the right way? It can get confusing. So type 4 is similar to this situation. It happens when the information you need is all jumbled up, like having words at the bottom of the screen and pictures at the top when you are trying to learn something. It's like mixing up pieces of different puzzles. The fifth, the final one, is called managing working memory. Sometimes you need to remember things while you are learning something new. Imagine like you are following a recipe to make cookies and you have to remember the steps while you are mixing ingredients. But if you have to remember too many things all at once, it can be really tricky, like trying to juggle too many balls at the same time. This is called managing working memory. So these types of overload are like challenges that can make it harder to learn and understand new things. It's important for teachers and those who create learning materials to make sure they don't overload our brains with too much information or distractions. That way, learning can be more fun and easy. In their work, Richard Mayer and Roxana Moreno suggested 9 ways to reduce those overloads based on the 12-year program of research they conducted at the University of California, Santa Barbara. So solution 1 is offloading. Instead of showing both words and animations at the same time, we can use narration. This way you listen to the words while watching the animation, making it easier to understand. Second solution is segmenting. We can break the learning materials into smaller parts with breaks in between. This will help to focus on one part at a time, making it easier to digest. For example, a long video can be divided into smaller pieces, or we can pause after each part to give learners time to think. The best option is if information will be followed by a question, so the thought process will be activated. The third solution is pre-training. Before students learn something, we can give them some information about the important parts beforehand. This helps them understand better when they start learning. For example, before they start a science experiment, you can explain the basics and key terms. This pre-training will help them understand the experiment better when they actually do it. Fourth solution, reading. Sometimes we have extra stuff that can be distracting. We can remove these distractions to make learning easier. For instance, In a documentary about animals, background music sometimes distracts from the narration. Removing the unnecessary music makes it easier for learners to focus on learning about the animals. Fifth solution, signaling. We can give learners cues or signals about what's important in the material. This helps to pay attention to the right things. For example, in a video about history, important dates are highlighted with different colors. This will help to notice and remember the key historical events. And the sixth is called aligning words and pictures. Sometimes when words and pictures are not placed together properly on the screen, it can make learning harder. For example, there is an animation on one side of the screen and the words explaining them are on the other side. So learners have to do a lot of searching with their eyes. This extra effort is called incidental processing. But if we put the words next to the things they describe in the animation, it's gonna be easier for learners to understand, because then they don't have to search around. Mayer calls this way of presenting information integrated presentation. Studies have shown that when words and pictures are aligned, it helps students learn better. So making sure words and pictures are close together on the screen is a good way to reduce the mental effort. Next one is eliminating redundancy. We can avoid showing the same information in multiple ways, like having both text and narration saying the same things. This can make it less confusing and easier to learn. When you watch a cooking show, you don't need the chef to say the same recipe both in words and by showing it visually step by step. It's enough either to see or hear it. Or in the class, you don't need to make your presentation text heavy, especially when you are saying the same text. Solution 8 is synchronizing. If we show pictures and words at the same time, it is easier for learners to understand. But if we show them one after other, it can be harder. So we try to show them together to make learning smoother. For example, in a language learning app, when you hear a word, you also see a picture of the object it represents at the same time. This makes it easier to remember the word and its meaning. And finally, individualizing. Sometimes people have different abilities or preferences to understand things. We can adapt the way we teach to match their skills. For instance, if they're good at visualizing things in their mind, we can use more pictures to help them learn. In math class, if learners find multiplication easier with visual aids like pictures or diagrams, you might use more visual examples to help them understand, while someone else might prefer solving problems with numbers only. As teachers and learning designers, we should be able to adapt to each student's way of learning. These solutions are like tools that teachers and designers should use to make learning materials better and easier to understand. I hope this video was useful. If so, don't forget to hit thumbs up and subscribe to this channel. More informative videos are coming.